and work there is progressing. We were hopeful that we would have started in Bath probably around maybe this time of the year, but we would have had some setbacks. But that doesn't deter us from going forward. And we are here to apprise you, as I said, to let you know where we are and what the plans are for this road. Tonight, we have with us Honorable Spencer Brand, who is the Minister with responsibility for works in the Nevis Island Administration. We have the Director of Public Works, Mr. Javon Williams, and he would go into more detail as to what's involved in terms of the project. And also, we have here representing the Water Department, Mr. Roger Hanley, and he would give some insight as to what's also involved in terms of from the water perspective. We were hoping, well, the Honorable Premier and Area Representative, he would be here. He should have been here already. He's on his way, as Mr. Brand has said. He's on his way. So he too would have something to say, being the area representative for St. John's, in which Bath Village falls. So, yes, so tonight we're going to present to you what the plans are, where we're at with the process, and let you know what is going on. We know that, as I indicated, the road, where the road is, a number of landowners along the road would be affected one way or the other. And we are seeking your cooperation to work along with us in that regard so that the project can proceed smoothly to successful completion. At this point, I'm going to have the Honorable Spencer Brand to speak to us on the project. Mr. Brand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley. Yeah. Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Communication and Works. Good evening, everyone. I want to, from the outset, recognize, of course, my Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Communication, Mr. Denzel Stanley. We have with us also Mr. Javon Williams, the Director of Public Works. We have Mr. Roger Hanley, who is the Operations Manager in the Nevis Water Department. We also have, I'm seeing in the audience, Mr. Kester Webb, one of our senior supervisors there at the Public Works Department. I was going to call a gentleman name, but he said no. And of course, residents of Bath Village and surrounding areas. I'm seeing also a number of folks here from all the way at Rollins. Good evening. Tonight, we have come to Bath Village to fulfill, as it were, a commitment by the Nevis Island Administration. We would recall that in the budget presentation of 2020 for 2021, the Minister of Finance and the Premier of Nevis would have indicated that the two major projects that the NIA would give serious consideration to for this year would be Butlers, which we are presently on the ground on in Butlers, and Bath Village. You also would recall that we would have completed the first phase of Bath Village from Reliable Motors to Boom and down to Blackhart's Place. It was our intention to continue this project shortly after, but due to circumstances the world over, we basically had to delay it. And we feel that now we are in a position to continue this project. We all would recognize that throughout the length and breadth of Nevis, there is an unprecedented demand for road upgrade and road improvement. And while Mr. Stanley was speaking, I started making a note of the various areas that I have requests for on my desk. And this is only a very short list. Cotton Ground, Jessops, Westbury, Fountain, Camps, Nisbets, Brown Pasture, Maynard Ground, Farms, Church Ground, Hamilton, Ramsbury, and of course the phase of the Island Main Road from Cliff Dwellers via Newcastle to Nisbets. The truth is that with limited resources, we can only do so much. And I want to say to the people of Nevis that while they have been extremely patient over the years, I am asking them to continue to bear with the NIA as we seek to implement some of these road improvement projects. Tonight we are here in Bath. And when we did the field survey last Thursday, we took the opportunity to canvass the area from where Mr. Dick lives all the way down to the intersection of right there by Boom. And from the outset, we did know that we would have some tight areas in Bath. When we look at the area there by Strait, we know that that area would be a very tight area. And we also know that there is one or two other tight areas on this project. I want to take this opportunity to appeal to the people of Bath Village. I believe that you have been extremely patient with your government, and I'm asking you to cooperate with the Public Works Department in the implementation of this project. Some properties would be affected based on the design that we are working with. There would be some acquisition of lands along the carriageway. And I want to say to those persons who are and who will be affected to work with us, because it is our very serious intention to ensure that you are not made any worse off than you are at this moment. We will seek to ensure that if we were to remove your property fence or your property wall, we would erect them. If we were to encroach on your land or take a piece of your land, we at the ministry would do everything that is necessary to, one, ensure that your certificate of title is made right at absolutely no cost to you. We would also ensure that in our discussion in acquisition, that we hope that if there is a need for compensation, that you would be as reasonable as possibly can. Tonight we are here to say to you that phase 2 will commence very shortly. And phase 2 is basically from Mr. Dick in the south along the main carriageway here in Bath at the intersection of Boom. The length, I am told, is 3,400 feet. And in most cases, the width of the road would be approximately 17 feet. There would be a very short area that would be approximately 16 feet. And we feel that a width of 17 feet is comparable to even the Island Main Road. So we are ensuring that Bath Village would have wide enough roads that would be comparable to anywhere on the island of Nevis. The cost, I am told, is somewhere in the region of approximately $2 million for this 3,400 feet of road. Now, we know that in Bath, while we are speaking about phase 2, we also have a phase 3 and a phase 4 to implement. And phase 3 would be what we known as Jericho Road, right there from the Taman Tree all the way down to Flakesy. That area is expected to be approximately 17 feet in width, and it is some 1,000 feet in length. And the estimate that I've been given is approximately $600,000 for that particular stretch of road. We are also expecting to have phase 4, which is just beyond where we ended in the Blackouts area, going up the hill by Maud Smith Preschool over to Vaughan Radio and all the way over to Kongshell. That distance is some 2,900 feet, and the width of that is expected to be between 16 and 17 feet. That segment is expected to cost somewhere in the region of $1.5 million. The total estimated project cost then is approximately $4.1 million when we were to add phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 together, and giving a total of some 700 and 300 feet. 7,300 feet. My math is correct, right? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, I am really appealing to the people of Bath for their cooperation and for their understanding. We know that there would be some disruption, there would be some noise, there would be some dust and dirt coming into your homes. We will try and mitigate against that as much as possible. There would be at times disconnection in your water because the water department would have to make new connections and the likes. There would also be disruption in your electricity because a number of electrical poles would have to be relocated. The reality is that there will be some days when you would be made to be very uncomfortable. I want to say welcome and good evening to the Honorable Premier, the Minister of Finance, and also the area representative, the man who is writing the checks for this project. Welcome, sir. As I was saying, I want to appeal to you to be patient with us because there would be some disruption. Dust, noise, disruption in your water supply at times, disruption in your electricity, disruption maybe also in your internet and cable services. All of these are things that would be impacted during the construction phase. And I believe that as the folks of Bath Village would have been patient for all of these years, that they can be patient with us and bear with us for the next few months. So with those very brief words, I want to say to the people of Bath Village, we are here not only to fulfill our commitment, but also to ensure that the village of Bath Village can see the improvement as we have seen in many other villages throughout the length and breadth of Nevis. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Minister Brand. I'd just like to re-echo what he said in terms of the land acquisition and so forth. Yes, a project like this, given where it is, property owners along the road will be affected, will indeed be affected. Lands will have to be taken if we are to achieve the width of road that we want to. Yes, we will have to acquire some lands along the road. We are seeking the cooperation and the understanding of the landowners along the road. As Mr. Brand rightly said, all resurveys and legal work and so on with the new issuance of new land title and so on would be done at absolutely no cost to the landowner. Compensation for lands taken. Yes, there are some who would be asking for compensation. We would discuss that as the time comes along. I know in some instances there are persons who would have forego compensation and say, well, okay, do this for me instead. Put a little wall here, do something. Dependent on the amount of land taken and so on. So there's scope for negotiation and discussion in that regard. But again, we are asking for the understanding and the cooperation of all landowners along the road. Mr. Brown also mentioned about phase 3 and a phase 4. Please note, right now our concentration is on phase 2. That is this road, the main road from by Boom all the way over to Mr. Dick. Phase 3 and phase 4 would come at a later time. Those were not budgeted for, but they are in the plans. So at the end of the day, when we are done, we would have given Bath a comprehensive upgrade in terms of the road in Nevis. In Bath, sorry. I would just like to welcome, well, I wouldn't say he's Premier, yes, but for tonight he is the area representative. He's speaking in the context of as area representative for St. John's and Bath Village. Just before Mr. Williams speaks to give us the details on what the project entails, and Mr. Roger Hanley would come after to give us his take from a water standpoint. We'll have Honorable Minister Brantley to speak to us. And then after him, we'll have Mr. Williams from the Public Works Department to give us an idea as to what exactly is involved in the project. Once all the presentations are done, we will open for question and answer. So whatever questions you may have, you may formulate them, write them down so that we could have them addressed later. Mr. Brantley.
Hi, good evening, everybody. First, let me start by apologizing for being late. I do not like to be late, but somehow I got confused. I thought that the event started at 7 and not at 6, so please forgive me. I feel very proud. I feel very proud to be here this evening because, as has been said, I am privileged to be the area representative for Bath Village. And I know that the people of Bath have waited a very long time to have their roadways fixed. We have been trying our very best across the island to go into the villages and various communities and to offer them better infrastructure. Better infrastructure means better property values. It means, of course, less wear and tear on your vehicles, but even for pedestrian traffic, it also means that it's easy. And what we try to do when we go into the communities is we upgrade the water and the roads at the same time. I think if you want to have any sense of the quality of what the Public Works has been doing, you need only to travel down Hanley's Road, or travel in Braziers, or travel up Shaw's Road, or travel in Brownhill, Craddock Road. All of these various roadways have been done. And as I go around Nevis, many people have said that it's been 50 years since anybody came to touch their road. We know that the people of Bath Village have waited for a very long time. Now, what we get when we go around Nevis is the minute you touch Bath Road, I could assure you some other village is going to say, well, what happened to us? And so I also want to make it clear that what we're trying to do is a systematic approach to this. We're trying to do as funds allowed. And that is why Bath, for example, would have had a first phase done, and we're talking about a second, third, and fourth phase. Because let's face it, part of the problem is the resources, having the money to do it. But I'm proud to be here because this was a commitment we made to Bath Village, that we would be able to come in and we would be able to bring some relief in relation to the road. It has taken longer than perhaps anticipated because this main thoroughfare in Bath is difficult. The engineers perhaps are better qualified to speak to that, but it is difficult because especially as we pass the Tamantry and Alfred shop, it gets very, very narrow. and persons there have their homes and their fence very, very close. It's really difficult, as you know, even now, for 2 cars to pass comfortably. So to upgrade that road, it clearly will involve some people's property lines being affected. I want the people of Bath to know that this is not unusual. Whenever we did roads, wherever we did roads, people's property lines were affected. But we have found the Division people to be very reasonable in terms of dealing with the government, recognizing that we're trying to upgrade the infrastructure. Many of them have been willing to say, okay, you know, put up my wall, fix back my wall, put back my boundaries in the new positions, etc. And as the Assistant Permanent Secretary has explained, we do that at the government's cost. Clearly, where others would require compensation, then that is also your right. And we would hope to have an amicable discussion on that so that nobody is at the end of the day left out. Now, the one point I wanted to emphasize, other than this commitment that was made and a commitment that we're seeking to keep, is the possibility for work in the area for those who are from the area. And I want to emphasize that because what we have done as we have gone into the villages and the communities around the island and have done roads and other infrastructural projects, we have emphasized the need for those in the community to benefit. So if you go to Butlers now, you're going to see a lot of people from St. James there building walls and doing that. And we would want the same thing to happen here in Bath Village. So that's a commitment that we've made because it is something that we have seen works around the island where money that is being spent by the government is allowed to circulate in the local community. So we see this road not just as a road, but also in this very difficult time, an opportunity for some of the youngsters in Bath, some of the builders in Bath, some of the truckers and heavy equipment operators in Bath to get a bite, as we say colloquially. So for me, that is also important. I just want to encourage, as the minister did, the people of Bath to be patient with us. Construction is always disruptive. There's going to be dust, there's going to be noise. There'll be interruption of your essential services from time to time. But I think, again, as you look across the island, and I grew up in Brantley, so I'm particularly proud of that project, and you see the quality that has been produced, I think that you will end up with something that you can be proud of and that we all can be proud of. So I'm late already, and because when you're late, you can't talk too long. So I will leave it there and hand it back to Mr. Stanley. And certainly I'm here tonight to lend my full support, to lend the government's full support. And I want to commend Mr. Brand and his team because he told me that we will start this project. He's a little late because he told me August. We're in September, but in any event, he told me we would start it, and I'm happy to be here tonight to mark the official discussion on the way to having this project done. So thank you all very much, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mr. Brantley. There's nothing I could add to that. I think he was being clear. A word that he normally used, pellucid, pellucidly clear about the position that the NIA has in relation to this project. And the emphasis again is on the community's cooperation and working along with us in the Ministry of Communication and Works, and by extension the NIA, to effectively execute the project. If you look on the wall on your left, on our right, you would see a printout of what the road should look like at the end of the day. You can have a closer look at it later on. Mr. Williams at Public Works and his team would have produced that based on surveys and so on that would have been done, initial surveys and so on that would have been done. And so we'll now have him, Mr. Williams, Javon Williams, to talk more in depth about the project itself. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. And thank you, Principal Assistant Secretary Denzel Stanley. And let me recognize the other members at the head table, Honorable Premier Matt Brantley and Honorable Spencer Brand, who is the Minister of Communications and Works. Also in the audience, I'd like to recognize Mr. Kester Webb. He's one of our senior. He's one of the Inspector of Works in the Roadway Division. And as this project takes off, you will be seeing a lot more of him in Bat Village. So I just wanted to recognize him. He's a gentleman there, a hard-working gentleman in the Public Works uniform there. Yes. I won't go too much in detail about the leading up to the project when it comes to lengths and widths and costs and that, because I think that has been clearly established. No, but what I would do is talk more about from the technical end of things. Looking at Bat Village here in this phase 2, as we call it, which goes from down by where we left off, down by the culvert, just below Boom Shop, to all the way across to Mr. Dick. Looking at it, the first thing popped out was the narrowness of the existing road. The road from Mr. Dick to where Mr. Thompson's, Burton Thompson's residence is, that's average about 9 feet. And from there on, all the way over, average about 12 feet. Now, if we were to do this road and to keep up the design standards that we have used in other roads, you would know that the problem confronting us becomes clearly apparent in that you don't have space. You don't have space without affecting the properties. The right-of-way is very limited. So, the first thing we did was to try to see how best to fit the roadway in, causing minimal disruption to the properties. Not only the properties, but also you have electrical poles and you have some landmarks that you would like to keep. So the best we could do, and what we want to give Bat Village a road that is equal or even better to all that we have done so far. And so we're looking to have a road which is a minimum width, a minimum asphalted width of 16 feet. That's the minimum. The majority of this road will be 17 feet asphalted width. So, as I said, the existing width is inadequate for 2 cars to pass uninterrupted. And those of us who drive through Bat Village regularly would know about the tight spots that we know about. Now, the question is now, what can you expect here in Bat Village? You could expect an asphalt roadway throughout. The existing roadway is concrete for the majority of it, but we are not putting back concrete. It's going to be an asphalt road throughout. Another one of the issues that comes up with Bat Village is the profile of the road. There are some areas that are relatively flat, and keen attention had to be given to how do you deal with the drainage situation. There's some areas that is really flat, and we don't want to build a road and have water settling on it, so keen attention had to be given to that. Now, as I said, you'll have a hot mix asphalt road, and it will be lined with concrete curbs and slipper on one side, and the concrete curb on the other side. Now, the paved roadway, as I said, will be a minimum of 16 feet, and we'll have to install some drainage improvements in the form of box culverts, U-drains, concrete swales along the side of the roads, and pipe culverts at some locations. Now, I just want to belabor this point. This one I would belabor. The proposed minimum width that we're looking for cannot be achieved without land acquisitions and accompanying relocation and reconstruction of property walls and fences. So, to achieve that width that we're looking for, encroachment into the adjacent property lots is inevitable. So, based on the design, we're seeing that along the route, and I'm talking about from just for phase 2 alone, from Mr. Dick residence and the south to the culvert area, just shy of the roundabout, we are already looking at about 22 property lots being directly affected in some way or the other by the road construction, widening, etc. So this is on paper as per the plan, but as you know, once you get on the ground, it's a fluid situation sometimes. So sometimes you have to make changes here or there. But based off of what we have seen, we have about 22 lots. Now, all of these lots are not developed lots. Some of them are undeveloped lots where you have to take in a foot of land, a foot and a half of land, and those type of things. Some of them have already fences and walls. And so that's very important for us. So, and the minister and Mr. Stanley spoke eloquently about that and the approach that the ministry takes with regards to that. So, now, where are we? We have the design that is here. We have seen where it would be impacted. And the next step is to commence the underground activities. Now, that would commence with survey, stakeout. And within the next few weeks, we would be having discussions with the property landowners. And the idea is to show them exactly where we're looking to have the road widened to and where their property fence would have to be relocated if needs be. So we're targeting those properties that are directly affected. Out of these 22 properties, we start with the ones that actually have a wall or fence where those can be started. So the works will not only include a major upgrade to the road network, but it also include utility upgrades. And I would leave that when the water details to Mr. Hanley to give just a brief synopsis. So, as mentioned before, we have property lines, property walls. So, works end. Where can we start? And that is where we are at. Now, as I said, the issue is we can work to establish the right of way.
We don't have much fire in Nevis, but it's very important that such infrastructure is in place to minimize the risk of houses being torched and demolished by fire. So that's one of the infrastructure that we'll be implementing. Secondly, we take into consideration empty lots, vacant lots. So what we do, we ensure that water supply is installed on those empty lots in the event of persons from abroad who would like to construct homes or businesses, whatever, what have you. So that we ensure that the infrastructure is in place so that we wouldn't have to destroy the road to put that service connection in. And so that's pretty much it. One thing that wasn't mentioned is just a small cost in relation to the cost of the road. You would have heard the minister mentioned about the 4.1 million. So don't think for 1 second that the work that we do is free. And I would want to say that the
bills that you pay also goes towards the capital projects. And so, as the Inland Revenue would put it, be a responsible citizen.
Thank you, Mr. Hanley. I see you had a light moment, and it's something I think that the two gentlemen here, honorable gentlemen here, would have, I guess they'd appreciate you, and they endorse it greatly. I guess they themselves didn't want to say it, but they do endorse it. So thank you very much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the presentation and speeches. Again, as I said, you would have seen the pictures as done by Public Works to give you a better appreciation as to what we are hoping to get done. We're now going to open the floor for questions that you may have. The technicians are here, the honorables are here. So, what questions you may have, you may start your questions now, please. Yes, Mr. Thompson.
Well, my initial question was answered with Mr. Williams' presentation, so no need to ask that again. I didn't hear anything about how long the project gonna take to be completed. I didn't hear that. Another thing, the water department, right around here by my father's property, Burton Thompson, there's always a leak. Almost every week there's a leak there. So is that going to be rectified with the upgrade of the pipes and stuff like that? Okay, because it come to me like every time I turn my back, I see they're fixing something there. And one other question. You say from Mr. Dick to right there by my father's property, that's the only area that doesn't have the 4-inch pipe? So all the other areas in that village has the 4-inch pipe?
Conch shell, I think that's part of the phase 3 and 4. And basically what we are hoping, even with the prospects of getting phase 3 and 4 done, I would have forgot to mention, there are some areas that we would want to include maybe shortly thereafter to sort of improve the delivery of water into Bath village. Presently we have one transmit point, and so what we want to do in the due course is to create another area where that we could bring water into Bath in the event that we would have broken mains to avoid the whole of Bath being out of water. Let me answer the question about the length for us. I estimated it to take 50 days to be completed. Now it's just an estimation, so if we go over, please don't, you know what I mean?
So, just another simple question. So the low pressure that we suffer from over in that area, is that due to the size of the pipe? Yes,
Eliminate that low pressure that you're experiencing, and that would be a thing of the past once we are completed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Williams, in terms of duration, I know that there haven't been a set date for commencement per se in terms of work, but you probably give an idea as to once work has started, how long you expect it to last, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Once work has started, if all goes well as planned, you could expect this road to be completed in 6 months. But what happens during construction of the roads, especially from Public Works end, right? We don't work in isolation. So we work with the utilities, water department, cable TV, NEVLEC, and all of those. So a lot of the time, Public Works will set a schedule. It's our road, and we're doing that. But then, sometimes they're doing the project with a snag, with utilities and other things. So, in a general sense, I'm saying in 6 months, the road should be complete if all goes as planned.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
That the government is that the government is giving out now, is it a different size to the usual sizes that they used to give out? Because someone came over there in my neighborhood doing agriculture, and I realized you all give him a very huge stop cup, and when I put on the water in the house to get a shower, and he start watering the plant, there's no water. So I'm wondering, why did he have a different stop cup to mine? Very huge one. So I want to know what's going on. So please give me some answer concerning that, because it's very unfair.
Okay, as the question that Mr. Thompson asked earlier, once this project is completed, there wouldn't be any, how shall I put it? No consumer should have any issues regarding water pressure. The size of the stopcock, it determines the use of the water. So the agriculture use would sort of ensure that the person gets the full volume of water that they need for the plants, and the household, which doesn't use as much water, their stopcock is normally a bit smaller.
Okay.
Yeah, I said before the 4-inch line would solve the
That's
problem.
what you say. The improvement in the water, in the infrastructure, the pipes, would solve that problem. Okay, calm down. Next.
Right now I have a challenge similar to I have to take a bucket. If she was bathing at home one time, for my room personally, I have to take a bucket to my bathroom, and then my bill still come in $120. And when all of us was living home, I used to pay less. I know the water bill went up and they added $25. But I went today for my water bill, and the lady told me $240 in 2 months. I find that to be ridiculous, and then it's uncomfortable. Sometimes I done naked, going to the bath, forget that the water in the house, jiggling down like how I want it. I have to run my house. So I get a bucket of water. I understand what Kerry's saying, because there is an agricultural garden above me, and I even sometimes wonder, but I don't want nobody to knock me down, so I was really afraid to discuss this part, but I'm going to say it now, and they're going to still do what they have to do. Why my water bill is so high, I even wonder. My meter is 2 miles from me. I tried to go to the department requesting for it to be removed. I spoke about it today, and they're laughing in my face, and I can't be just as ignorant as them, because I just get very passionate when I believe in certain things. I think if I go to establishment to make a query and pay my bill, and if I even ask me, you paying your bill one time? I say, as long as I have the money, I will pay my bill. And I find that it's unfair to me, so I was wondering and all, if because my meter is a mile from my house, that the people who is doing agriculture make a bore, that's why you can't get water. Dead serious, and I ask the Lord to forgive me this so I'm asking somebody if they can please come sooner than later to see what's really going on. Because I can tell you how bad it was. There was my neighbor who was doing now I have to talk, this one, who was doing a fencing. And because the meter is so far from my house, they bust the pipe. And it's about 2 weeks after when I went to check a plant I have up in that car, and I realized, number one, they were trespassing because my yard is fenced and the pipe is fixed. I wasn't told, and then the bill come, and that bill, when the bill came, when they wasn't sending any bill during the COVID, $1,200, and I got here bawling, and nobody even come to, because how they get on my premises to fix the pipe, and I don't know. And I keep bawling, so I kind of glad that we have this session now, because I think it's unfair to poor people. And I shouldn't be taking a bucket of water and paying those high rates. Because I know the $25 is added, I have no problem with that, because I know people are paying more in different countries and we need the place to keep clean, but I would really like some assistance as urgent as possible.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. We're going to look into that. I've taken note of it. The Minister would have taken note of it as well. I believe Mr. Hanley himself would have taken some mental note of it. I don't see him writing anything, but he will take note of it too as well. But we're going to look into those matters. Mr. Lewis, I think I saw your hand a while ago.
I'd like to start always by saying that, for 41 years, right? But that doesn't mean that Bart is not at home, right? Come and go on. But what I really want to say, I'm really glad now that the road is being fixed. It pleases in my heart to see that this session is here now and we are going to get the road well in short order. But I kind of don't understand what you mean by the second phase. Because from the bridge, come back this way is bad, you know. So if you are trying to count the area from the bridge go back, that's St. Paul's. That's Minister Brown constituents. So the little piece we all fix there and call it phase 1. This way we're doing now should be phase 1. And then start to use USFA. That is St. Paul's, from what I understand. So maybe you could readjust that. But I'm glad to know that the road is going to be fixed and that we'll get all the infrastructure in place. There's something else I wanted to say and you make me forget, right? But the time frame I think is right. And I really hope, I beg and plead with Bath Village people, let's be cooperative too, because people really don't, most of you who are here now, you all won't hear when we had to take water from the stamp pipe, put a stick up. Even one guy got a name in Bath, we used to call him Obierman, because he used to get water from the dam, just putting a stick up, and we call him Obierman, because he walked up here to get the water. No water was over this side. Don't talk about the road. Oh, what I really wanted to say, just talking to one of my colleagues from Bath, we live different places now, and he said to me, you know the road over has been so bad, that we had a man named Mr. Brown live down the same Jericho Road. You know, we used to call him, his nickname was Bad Roads. Because he had a car, and he used to come through full speed, and he's dropping out all the hole them. And he used to say, Bad Roads. And we give the nickname Bad Roads. So I'm glad that the road is going to fix now, so that we could get out of this. More than 60 years Bath didn't have no road. So it's not 40, it's not 50, it's more than 60 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And as I said, as Mr. Williams has indicated, that 6-month period, all things being equal, we know through experience we would have had some setbacks and so on from neglect and so forth and so on, which to a large extent, to some extent we don't have direct control over. So we try to impress upon them the importance of getting these poles relocated and lines transferred and so on. Many times, Nevlec could come in. You know that Nevlec, the poles are shared by Nevlec, flow and cable TV. And many times, Nevlec could have come and done their part, putting up a new pole, dropping the lines, putting in new lines, and flow and cable TV take their own time. I thought flow would have been flowing. But they take their own time to come and take the pole, take the lines off the old poles and so on and so on. So those are things that we have to work with. We try to impress, as I say, impress upon them the importance of getting these things done so that we could get the project moving. And so, yes, 6 months I think is good time, all things being equal.
Not a question.
Sorry?
Just not a question, but a comment.
Who's speaking? Oh, sorry.
I know we like to complain. I am urging the citizens of Bath, those who do not have catchment, get some buckets, get some drums. Do not call water department. My water is off. Shop accordingly so that too much is not stored in your fridge. Get whatever extra stuff for your fridge and so if the current happens to fluctuate and that sort of thing, prepare yourself. That's all I'm asking, and be here with it for the 6 months.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I think it wasn't mentioned is, and you're talking with Ms. Miles earlier, talking about access roads. Once the works are started, people need to get in and out. That's something that we'll have to address early and look in towards the different diversions and so on, because yes, you live in here, you need to get in. But in some cases, you're accustomed to park in your yard, that may not be possible at certain time along the project. Please understand that. As I say, yes, ideally, you want your vehicle parked in your yard, you feel safe and so on. Given the work going on at that time, that may not be possible. Be understanding, work along with us. Yes, we need diversion roads and so on. We look into all that so that we could minimize as much as possible the effect of you all not being able to get in and out as you wish. Not necessarily a parking area. But I'm saying if they're doing a certain aspect of the project at this today or for the next 2 days, and your customer park in front of you, you might not be able to get into your yard. You might be able to park a little down the road from your property. Things like those. No, but I'm saying give this type of work. If they're doing drainage work in front of the property and it's excavated, there's no way you can get in unless it's done. Things like that. What we're saying, what Ms. Phillip, what we're saying is that there will be inconveniences. And you may, and depending on what's happening, you may be required to park a little distance away from your property. That's all it is. But it's not going to be for the 6 months duration. That's what you're trying to tell you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, if your neighbor allows you to park there, very good. We work together. We live together. Work together. Yes, we understand that, and we're hoping and praying that it doesn't come to that, and that the people of Bath and the people of the community of Nevis would do the right thing. Okay. Any other question?
Yeah, I hope that this doesn't sound like a trick question, but in your evaluation and when you look at the whole project, how many jobs are we looking at for overbad people? That's one question. Right? And this other thing is that this had nothing to do with the roads. This have to do with something I brought up here some time ago. I know the politicians probably think I forget, but I don't forget things like that because it affects me every day. It affects me, still affects me. This is like 2-3 years ago. And I'm talking about those rusty containers over by me. I brought it up some time ago, and Mr. Brand told me he's going to look into it. They're still over there, no, Mr. Brand. And I'm still looking at them every morning and every night. And every time I look at them, I get upset. Okay? I really get upset. Luckily, I'm a healthy fellow. I exercise and I eat right, so I don't have any blood pressure and stuff like that. Otherwise, I'd probably already been dead. So, those containers over there, I see people going and dump stuff there, you know. I see a guy came from the dump one morning, and I watch him in a truck, and he went and he dumped a bed, an old bed. And I went down there to make sure. So, it looked like this place is going to become a dumping ground. I mean, you know, I can't accept it. I can't live with it. And like I said the first time around, if this was in one of you guys' area, it would disappear in a heartbeat. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't even have been there. And I am not pleased and I'm not happy by the way I'm represented. When I go to vote really proud. I take time, I take my shower, and I take some time and I go and I vote. I don't get half a vote. I get a real vote. I don't go out and make a lot of noise during the campaign and so. You guys don't see me around making all kind of rary and making. I go and vote because that's what you boil down to. You vote. And I'm looking for better representation. You never see me in a politician office looking for no favors. I don't go and beg favors for my wife or my girlfriend or my keeper. I don't do that. I don't do that. Okay? I'm asking for one little thing. Get those containers out of my face. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for any job or any stuff like that. Just get those containers out of my face. It's been a while now and it's upsetting. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Mr. Thompson, you did brought the issue to my attention some time ago. And what I can remember of the situation, I believe that a stop order or removal order was issued. That is the last I am aware of that situation. I know that the planning department would have had numerous discussions with the property owner. And to the best of my knowledge, I know that a stop and removal order was issued. That is the last I am aware of it, but as you indicated, yes, you did brought it to my attention, and we did investigate the matter, and I know that a stop order and a removal order was issued. But I can follow up and certainly update you on it. It has not been 3 years, Mr. Thompson, and I think that we need to be honest. Well, but let's be honest. It has not been 3 years. It has not been 3 years. You are very well aware that it has not been 3 years. But you did brought it to me, and planning department did investigate, did issue a stop order and a removal order. I am aware of that much. But it has not been 3 years.
Okay. All right. Yeah, in terms of the number of jobs, yes, we can't say exactly how much jobs, but what the Premier and area representative did say about persons involved with equipment and trucks and so forth would be given priority. They would be given a priority to work on the project that affects them. They are people like the guy Charlie and whoever, Ryan Challenger and so forth, who has truck.
Could be. It could be. If they are, please note it would not be permanent, but just for the project. Yeah, I know that. Okay. Yeah, it could be. There could be. Yeah. But for now, we're looking at persons in the community who have equipment and stuff and so on.
Well, could I also add that in every project that we've done, Mr. Thompson, when we're doing walls and things like that, that we choose to get contractors from the area as well. So that if there are people in Bath Village who are contractors, masons, then they could get a piece of wall to do. So they get a contract to do that. That has been the standard that we've operated across the island whenever we've done roads. So it's not just about somebody getting a laborer position for the duration of the project, but it's also about people getting a contract to do a piece of wall, to do some element of the construction activity, which is not the roadway itself. The roadway itself, I think Public Works handles that. But a lot of the walls and things that we try to put up, because one of the things we do, and I like to say to drive around, look at Brownhill, look at Bath, look at Hanley's Road, look at Braziers, for example, and you see the type of work that we have done, the walls that we think add value and security for the properties. Those walls tend to be done by private contractors, and we try to use people in the area. So for those who have that building ability in Bath, we would hope that they would step up and be the ones to benefit. And my position, and Mr. Brand knows it very well, is that the people in the area should be the first ones to benefit. So with trucking, equipment, contractors for walls, etc., laborers, they should be the first ones to benefit. And only if they're not available, then we talk about bringing people from the outside. And that is a standard that we've employed across the place. So Brownhill, for example, when Brownhill was being done, a lot of the youngsters in Brownhill who were masons, who had that ability, they built a section of wall. And so you see a lot of walls that went up, and that was done by village. The same thing is happening in Butlers, and that is the approach that we've taken. And the same thing will happen here in Bath Village.
Well, I'm happy that, I'm proud of public works. I must say that. I've traveled and I've seen work that public works is done, we have been doing, and roads and so on. You guys make me proud. You guys really do a good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm happy that the government has seen fit to empower public works, I don't really send people on posts and stuff like that. I'm really happy about that. So, kudos to you guys.
Yeah, we would have exposed as much as possible the persons in public works to these things. We would have gone as far as to get equipment so that, upgraded equipment and so on, so that help them do their work and so forth. You would have seen some work being done in Charlestown in terms of resurfacing of roads and so forth. We recently, last year, got a milling machine which just takes off the old asphalt and you could put on fresh asphalt on it. Many of us would have seen, you probably drive to town on a Saturday night, and by Monday morning you drive at a different surface because of that machine. And so yes, investments have been made in personnel and in equipment at Public Works so that we could turn out the kind of work that you see. And so we thank you for the endorsement that you give. We'll continue to give those kind of encouragement and exposure to the people of Public Works so that they could continue to turn out in better works and so on.
Tampi, I want to thank you for that comment, because my position is that we have engineers in Public Works that went to the same universities and school as the foreign companies. And our people right here from Nevis, the engineers, the surveyors, would have excelled. So my position and the government's position is we have every confidence in our workers in Public Works. I don't lose any sleep at all over the capability of our Public Works, because they have proven to me time and time again that they are more than capable, that they are competent, that they know what they are doing. The drawings and so on that we see here, designed by our Public Works people. These are people who would have done designs in United States, in Florida, and work on roads all over. So I am really happy when I hear these kind of comments coming from our people that they are satisfied and delighted to see what Public Works is doing. I have said to my cabinet that, listen, unless the Public Works Department is not available, then we can begin to consider a foreign company or an outside entity to do a particular piece of road. But if our Public Works is available, then my position is that they must always get first preference in terms of executing these work. And they have not really failed me or let me down yet, and I don't believe that they're going to start now. They're not going to make that mistake in Bath, because I know that Bath Village would not tolerate it. So I have every confidence in them, in the director, in the operation manager at Water Department, in our supervisors, in our surveyor, that they are more than capable. And I know that at the end of the day, Bath Village is going to get good quality, high quality, just as anywhere else on the island of Nevis.
Anything else? Anybody else? That looks like it. Okay. Mr. Brantley, any final word?
It's just left for me to say thank you. Thank you for those who took the time. I know there's cricket being played tonight, so so I'm grateful that you took the time to be here. Again, I end where I started. I'm really proud to be here tonight. I think that at the end of the day, Mr. Thompson talks about representation, and he's right, that part of that is obviously to bring improvement and to make the lives of the people better. And what I've seen that Public Works has delivered elsewhere, I have no doubt in my mind that the people of Bath Village will be proud. And while I hear them talking about phase 3 and phase 4, I'm happy we're going into a budgetary session, because I don't want to squeeze in some more phases over here. You know, I feel once you're here, you should stay here and do what you need to do. So we'll have to see how that goes. But certainly, I feel proud, and the people of Bath Village should expect a high quality road which will improve their lives, improve their property value, and improve their ability to navigate. So when Zanki said it's been 60 years, I don't doubt him, because that is the same type of story we're getting across Nevis, that many aspects of our infrastructure have really not been improved for a very long time. We can't do them all at once, but we're getting to them one by one, and this is Bath Village's turn. So thank you all very much for being here tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not from Bath. I'm not from Bath Village. But it is said, desperate people do desperate things. And you're looking at one desperate person tonight. I'm from Zetlands, as you know. And for years, went to England, I came back, 20 years. And when I came back, the road by us had, unfortunately, our house is between two guts, right? It's between two guts, and they join right at the bottom of our land. Now, when I'm hoping, and I think that the your people is a different set of people now. But when they rephase the road, there was what we call a sluice. I don't know what you call it now. I know it as a sluice in the road. And so when the water comes from up yonder, it comes down and it goes in the gut. When they repaired the road, they took out the sluice. Now from about 13, 14, 15 years, we didn't have a problem. But for about 15 years, they took out the sluice. And so from that time, we've been punishing, for want of a better word. the water comes down, and I don't know, I call her Netta. She's got a little wall by the edge of, so she don't have a problem. But from Netta, come right down to the Herberts, both Herberts. The water comes down. We have submitted a video. I'm told before, they've sent the video to Mr. Brandt. I said, no, I do protocols, right? I says, no. But I thank God tonight that this meeting, I said, well, let me come and talk and you know, Premier, we are desperate. The amount of land, we fence our land. And the land we had to refence. And when your engineer came out, one of them saw the fence is falling in. That is how much, Premier, if a quarter of an acre of land is not taken none is. And I am a backyard gardener. I have to water every night. So when the rain comes, I want the rain to come, but I don't want the rain to come. Because we are going to have an impact. A few months ago, it cost us a couple of thousands of dollars for somebody to build right across our road, our driveway, so that the water is not coming down. We have the debris from, and you know you've been there for dwelling, and so you know how far down the land, the house is, and we have the debris from the road in front of our steps going out, okay? And I'm just pleading, I'm just begging. The God minister came and did part of the God. We have no Keith's mom. She benefited, right? She did the first page. They did the first whatever. We have we did not get any benefit from what was done. And I know that there is, how the situation is. The gut needs to be fixed. But my problem is at the moment is to get the water. When they fix the thing in my yard, even one of your engineers says that the water will still come over. And it did. Although we haven't had any much rain, the water's still coming over. And I'm begging and beseeching, because the back of my house, it doesn't have any topsoil. Everything is gone. And on the morning, when the rain falls, for days, there is not even the gut, I have to call it a gut. It's right at the back of my of the house.
Okay. Okay, Miss
Herbert.
You finished? Sorry.
Yes. So all that I'm asking, put something up. We cannot touch the road, but put something, because the water is still coming down, and it's not just down the driveway. It's the whole of the and we are desperate, and that is why I'm here tonight. I am desperate, because I don't the back of when it's dry. When it's dry, there's some massive cracks. Some massive cracks at the back of the house. there is no soil. Thank you.
Ms. Herbert, it is unfortunate that you have had to deal with this situation for over 15 years. Since I became the minister with responsibility for public works, you did draw to my attention this situation. And you would recall that we did ensure that the Public Works Department would have done some rock lining in a major section of the gut. From, I think, up where the bridge was to just around the corner to your property. The removal of the swale, something that kind of baffled me because I never seemed to understand as to why that was done. There is a gut a bit further up the road from you, and what we have noticed is that once that gut begins to run, the volume of water does not stay within the confines of the gut. A lot of it comes down the road and spill over into your property. I know that we have looked at it on at least 2 or 3 occasions, and we have looked at it since I've become the minister. And we have kind of scratched our heads about it because there is indeed a lot more that may have to be involved in solving that problem. Whether we would ensure that we use a culvert from the gut above you and deposit it into the gut below, I think that we have knocked about a number of different ideas. But for me, I am aware of the situation since I've come into government, and we have ensured that the house above you, I think it might be your family, your relative, would have had some protection of rocks around that property. The volume of water that is deposited along that gut comes from, I believe, a number of different locations, especially the one that is directly up the road from you. But it is something that we have looked at. It is something that we know that we have to ensure that whatever we do there is going to fix the problem once and for all. Because putting a grill or something right in front of your property, we are of the view that there would still be water spilling over from the gut above that comes into your property. So, like I said, it's unfortunate that you have had to deal with this situation for, I think you said 15 years. That's quite a long time. And we did, in fact, do some work to try and protect those properties. But we know that we have 1 or 2 other little things that needs to be done.
May I say, Mr. Brad?
Yes.
My daughter, okay, right? You asked me time and time again, in your office, as you like over and very good. Right? And you asked me, and I said to you, Mr. Brand, you have done nothing to help my property. The big property down at the bottom. Okay? You've been up there 2 or 3 times at least. Okay? There is nothing being done to protect my property down at the bottom. And secondly, the water, what is most of the water that is, it's coming from up the road. When some of the water is coming from up of the road up yonder and coming down. And that is the one that when they took the sluice out, that is the one that is really affecting us as well. Right where you're talking there, Mr. Brand, there is a lot of stone. When we had a big hurricane or whatever we had here some years ago, a lot of stones, right? As I said before, that from Netta don't have any barrage or whatever you call it, you know. And so the water is coming from Netta, so it's coming not just down the road, the driveway, it's coming from by Netta, coming straight through the land, right? And coming down. You see, so there is, you know, and please.
Mrs. Herbert, we hear you, and I too apologize that you had to come all the way here from Zeppelins to make your case, but I've been whispering to the director and whispering to Mr. Brand, and it does seem that they are very well aware of the problem. How we solve the problem, that will be the next issue. But what I can do tonight is to commit that we will try to find a solution. I think a woman of your age shouldn't have to worry about this kind of problem and should have some peace at this stage of your life. I think you've earned it. So Mr. Brand and Mr. Williams, I think I've whispered to them, and we will see what we can do to alleviate the problem for you so that you don't have to come all the way to Bath to make a complaint in the future. So thank you for coming, and we commit to coming by and seeing what we can do to solve the problem once and for all and to give you some peace. I would like your garden to be watered from the heavens, not from the pipe. So I don't want you needing rain and still afraid of the rain. So we'll try and solve that problem for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. The night has been well spent, I think. Almost 2 hours since we started. I'd like to thank each one of you for coming out to share your views and your concerns, just as we have presented to you what we are hoping to achieve here in Bath Village with respect to the project. Again, we are asking for your cooperation, your understanding, your patience. Landowners along the road, please, you would be approached, indicating to you the extent of what we needed. Please work with us. At the end of the day, the benefit is for you, for me. Even though I don't live in Bath, I drive through there. The whole of Bath and the whole of Nevis ultimately. So work with us as we strive to work with you. Thank you very much and have a good evening.